A baby elephant fell into a dark pit. Her entire herd stood above, helpless. Then an impossible rescuer showed up. What happened next left a veteran forest guard speechless. He said in 32 years he had never witnessed anything like it. This is not a fairy tale. It happened near the Mudumalai Tiger Reserve in southern India in November 2025. The Mudumalai Reserve sits at the junction of 3 states. Dense, tropical forest stretches in every direction across the rolling green hills. Tigers, leopards, elephants, and wild boars all share this ancient landscape. They follow invisible boundaries carved by generations of instinct. A small elephant herd moved along the forest edge that morning. Among them was a 3-month-old calf the locals called Chinnu. Chinnu stayed close to her mother, learning to wrap her tiny trunk around leaves and grass as the herd foraged together. The ground in this area hides old agricultural wells abandoned decades ago, now covered by thin layers of soil and vegetation. Chinnu wandered just a few steps from her mother. The earth beneath her small feet suddenly cracked and gave way completely. She plunged 25 feet straight down into a dry, narrow well shaft with no water and no way to climb out. The walls were smooth, vertical earth. No roots, no footholds, nothing for a baby elephant to grip with her soft feet. Above the well, the herd froze. Every elephant stopped moving at once. The sudden silence was heavier than any sound. Then the mother heard her calf cry from below. She rushed to the edge and looked down into the dark opening. Chinnu was alive at the bottom, pressing her small body against the earthen wall, trembling, calling out in short, desperate cries. The mother stretched her trunk as far down as she possibly could. It reached deep, but fell 2 feet short of her baby. She tried leaning her massive body into the opening. The well shaft was far too narrow for an adult elephant to enter. She circled the well again and again, trumpeting so loudly the sound echoed through the forest canopy for miles around her. Other elephants in the herd gathered at the rim. They shifted their weight nervously and rumbled deep calls to each other. None of them could reach the calf. Their enormous bodies made them powerful, everywhere except here, at the edge of this narrow pit. The forest department received an emergency call, but the nearest rescue team was still a full hour away by road. The sun climbed higher. Heat poured into the well like an oven. A 3-month-old calf, in that heat, does not have an hour. Chinnu's cries grew weaker. Her legs buckled as she tried to stand. Time was running out for the baby elephant trapped below. The mother refused to leave. She stood over the well, opening, swaying, rumbling, her trunk hanging down into the empty dark space. And then from the thick undergrowth at the forest edge, something unexpected appeared. A large male wild boar stepped into the clearing. He was massive, with coarse dark bristles, scarred tusks, and the muscular build of an animal that had survived many harsh seasons. In Mudumalai, boars and elephants share the same territory, but they almost never interact or pay attention to one another at all. Elephants tolerate boars the way a truck tolerates a sparrow. They coexist without collision, but also without acknowledgement or care. But this boar was not passing through. He walked directly toward the well, his eyes fixed on the opening ahead of him. The mother elephant saw him approaching. She charged instantly. Ears flared wide, trunk raised high, her full weight thundering forward, toward him. The boar dodged at the last second. He circled back through the brush and returned to the same spot by the well edge. He stood at the rim, grunting, pacing back and forth, peering down into the shaft where the small calf was trapped below. The mother charged again, and again the boar dodged, but he refused to leave. Something held him at the edge of that well. Forest guard, Rangarajan, arrived on his motorcycle ahead of the rescue team. He had worked at Mudumalai for 32 years straight. He had witnessed elephants drown, calves taken by predators, herds stampeding through villages, but nothing could prepare him for this moment. He parked his motorcycle and approached slowly. What he saw made him stop in his tracks and reach for his phone to record. The wild boar had begun to dig, not randomly, not in panic, but with clear direction and unmistakable purpose in every single movement. He moved to the far side of the well, where rainwater had already carved a shallow natural erosion channel into the earth. The boar chose this exact spot deliberately. He recognized the natural groove as a starting point, reading the terrain like a map. He lowered his broad head, pressed his powerful snout deep into the red soil, and began furrowing with tremendous focused force. His front legs pushed hard against the ground. His thick shoulders drove his entire body forward like a living bulldozer in motion. Dirt piled up beneath him and rolled downhill. Each stroke of his snout sent loose earth cascading toward the well shaft below. 5 minutes passed. The boar did not stop. He widened the channel, deepened it, pushing soil consistently toward the well opening ahead. 10 minutes. His bristles were caked in red dust. Sweat darkened his hide. Still, he dug with the same relentless, steady rhythm. The elephants watched from a distance now. The mother had stopped charging. Something in the boar's behavior told her he was not a threat. Rangarajan stood frozen, watching in disbelief. In 32 years of forest service, he had never seen a wild boar behave this way. 15 minutes in, and a clear shape was forming in the earth. The boar was not just digging, he was building a ramp. The loose soil slid down the slope and piled against the inner wall of the well, creating an incline from the bottom upward. The boar worked the earth down the channel, packing it with the weight of his own body, testing it step by step. He walked down the ramp partway, testing whether the angle could hold weight. Then he climbed back up and dug even more. 20 minutes of non-stop labor. The boar had moved an astonishing amount of earth, with nothing but his snout and raw determination. Finally, he backed up to the top of the ramp. He grunted once loudly. Then he stood completely still and waited patiently. Down at the bottom, Chinnu lifted her head. She saw the mound of earth sloping upward, a path where there had been none. She placed her front feet on the loose soil and began to climb. Her small legs scrambled, reaching upward with everything she had. She slid back once, caught herself, pushed again. Her back legs drove into the earth as she inched higher and higher, slowly. The boar did not move from his position at the top. He stood like a sentinel, watching her climb with steady, unblinking eyes. Chinnu's trunk reached the rim first. Then her front legs scrambled over the edge. Her body lurched forward as she crested the top. She stumbled forward off balance. The boar caught her with his shoulder, a solid, deliberate nudge that pushed her upright onto firm ground. The calf was out. She stood on solid earth again, trembling, covered in red dust, but alive and breathing in the open air. The mother elephant was there in 2 strides. She wrapped her trunk around Chinnu and pulled her close against her massive protective body. A deep rumble rose from the mother's chest. It was the sound of relief, of reunion, of a bond that held completely unbroken. The other elephants moved closer, rumbling in unison. They circled the mother and calf in what looked like a protective, warm embrace, and the boar simply stepped back. He stood at the edge of the clearing, shaking red dust from his thick, coarse bristles quietly. He was breathing hard from 20 minutes of relentless digging. His muscles trembled beneath his hide, but his work was finally done. The mother elephant looked directly at him. She did not charge. She did not trumpet. She simply stood completely still and watched him. With her calf pressed safely against her front legs, she let the boar walk past her without any sign of aggression at all. He walked slowly to a nearby stream, lowered his broad head to the water, and drank deeply in the warm morning light. That single moment told the whole story. An elephant mother who never let strangers near her young let him pass in peace. By the time the forest department rescue team arrived, with their trucks and equipment, Chinnu was already nursing calmly beside her mother. The boar was 100 feet away, rooting for grubs in the earth, paying no attention to the humans or their machines. He had done what needed to be done. Now he was just a boar again, doing ordinary boar things under the warm morning sun. That evening, Rangarajan filed his official report to the forest department. His words carried the weight of 3 decades spent in the wild. He said, "I have worked here 32 years. I have seen many things, but I have never seen anything like this before." That was not instinct, he added quietly. That was planned. That animal knew what it was doing from the very first moment. Wild boars are not known for helping other species. They forage, they fight, they flee. Interspecies rescue is not in their behavioral profile. Everything this boar did that morning, assessing terrain, choosing the right spot, building a functional ramp, defies what science expects from his kind. He identified the problem. He tested his solution. He guarded the exit. Then he walked away without asking for anything in return. Scientists have no explanation for this behavior. It exists outside every model of wild boar cognition ever published in any academic journal. But the ramp was real. The calf survived, and the mother elephant let her rescuer drink from the stream beside her young calf. Maybe intelligence wears many faces in the wild. Maybe the forest holds secrets that our textbooks have not yet learned to read. And somewhere in Mudumalai tonight, a scarred old boar roots quietly in the dark. What else does he know that we do not? Love breaks all rules. Follow for more wild, heartfelt moments.